Hi, I'm Chris from Gears and Queers.
And I'm Chris from Sparkplug TV.
And this is Fun Girlie Car Time.
We are filming Fun Girlie Car Time. We are all in more separate locations than we usually are. Chris Landry is in Fire Island. I'm currently in Detroit. And today our guest, Tom from Tedward, who is from Boston, you're still in Boston right now, right?
That's correct. Yeah. I'm in Woburn right now.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh, and so, that sounds like a Northeast pronunciation.
Woburn. Yes. No. But thank you, Tom, for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We're so excited.
Yeah. I was telling Tom, Chris, before we logged on, that I was just watching his super duper successful, how to drive a manual with his Type R Civic.
Yes, very relevant to my interests.
Yes, mostly because of, you don't have ABS or, anti-lock brakes.
I have Honda. I have that part.
You have Honda. You have a Honda badge and you have a 4-cylinder. Yeah. Oh, no, 6.
No, baby girl 4. No, yeah.
Oh, sure.
We're not. We don't have anti-lock brakes. We don't got like traction control. I have airbag at least.
Airbag.
At least one. Well. Yeah.
My question for you, Tom, is how did you get did you put a GoPro underneath the steering column?
Yeah, I actually just used a suction cup to get my feet, which usually I'm like, yeah, don't film your feet. That's not a great call.
I was going to say, did you charge for that? Did you leave the tip jar out?
Got to be careful. There should be a subscription service where I just drive barefoot, and maybe that would earn me some more money.
Patreon. Yes.
You're like, okay, this one, I've got shoes on and the one on YouTube, but you got to pay $25 to get the OnlyFans version where it's just barefoot.
There's some porn stars that I look up to for their entrepreneurial prowess. And I'm always just like, man, they're fucking traveling. They're fucking, they're having fun and they're meeting all their friends and then they're going out dancing. And I'm like, there's a piece of me that I don't think I have the wherewithal to do that on camera. But I'm a little I used to be ooh, I want to be a YouTuber. Now I'm like, oh man, I could really fucking slay.
You fit right in
I'm gonna
because I talk about this all the time. I talk about this all the time about how I could do porn if I wanted to, but I don't have I don't want to. But I love that people. I love people that do it.
I could, but I just don't want to.
No, oh God, no. That's
but who am I kidding? I'm already at a point where if people are mean to me about their ugh, you didn't use your blinker, which I always do. I'm like the comments they're gonna leave about me fucking somebody on camera. I don't think I can handle that.
I couldn't. The body dysmorphia alone, someone would say they would somehow zero in on the one thing I hate the most about myself, and I would just dematerialize.
Yeah,
that would be the part for me though.
Well, I got a hate comment on my one of my shorts on YouTube recently that was you, sir, are a flamer, and I'm like, are you doing something? Do you think that you're doing something? I literally wear my brand on my shoulders.
Do you ever have that moment where you're like, hey, and then you're like, oh, I'm presenting that way 100%. Of course, you're just recognizing what I'm doing. It's not hidden. I'm doing the thing.
Yeah, you're I am being me, and guess what? Me sucks dick and cock.
Wow. I'm a Christian woman. Let me get my habit on. Let me get my habit on. Speaking of dick and cock and sex, I found out about Tedward through a hookup.
What? No, that's
I don't think I knew this. Okay.
So I will
post hookup. You he was like, hey, do you want to watch something? And puts a video on.
No.
And it was your how to drive stick video, and it was look at his feet.
Look at his feet. Oh yeah, his fucking feet. No, it was so I'll bleep his name and I'll cut it, but his name's he is
72 billion of those.
I don't know his last name. I don't know his
What's
last
he look
name.
like? What's his Instagram?
He's taller. He's got a huge dick. I don't.
Can I just say, I thought I was going to be the factiest one on this call today in Fire Island, and you girls are just the dick and the cock, and it's all, I just love it.
I know, I'm actually surprised more by Tom talking right now than I
Well, we've never
this guy also just sounds like the best marketing tool because of his tool, because he's giving me like, you're like, oh, I had this great sexual experience and he turned me on to you, which is not like, oh, this fucking schlubby asshole who gave nothing.
You can't buy that kind of marketing, right? That's like,
no,
that's
you really
organic.
can't. Yeah, it's truly organic. There were organics involved.
So, okay, so what was the context of this?
So it was like we had just finished hooking up, and then I was like, he was like, "What do you do?" And I was like, because you know how you don't know their name, and then you fuck, and then you get, as the gays do, and then you're like,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. And so, and then you're like, so what's your name? What do you do? Where are you from? What do you? And he. And I was like, yeah, so I just started my YouTube channel and my TikTok, and like I review cars and stuff, and I'm trying to angle it from an LGBTQ perspective. And he was like, oh my God, you should check out Tedward. He's somebody and I was like, oh, okay. So you were actually the first other queer that I found out about in this space, because I thought I was like trailblazing, like I'm gonna be the only girl in the world doing it, and then like I come in here and literally everybody is gay.
It's so gay. It's like
everywhere.
Oh my God. There's like, it's so funny. You go to like press launches and you're just like, oh my God, who's going to be on my wave?
Girl, I told you about the Bridgestone thing. I was like, you were on wave 1. And then of course, Davis, our sweet girly pop, tired goddess, tired daddy, he called me and Thebus ladyboys in front of the entire wave of people. He was like, where are my ladyboys? And we were just like, hi.
Oh,
Davis is wonderful. I'm going to be spending some time with him on a big camping trip coming up. I'm like super psyched.
Are you doing the overlanding trip?
Mm-hmm.
Bitch.
It's going to be fun.
Oh my God.
I heard about that. Jana actually just told me about that.
I'm going to have to
going on that?
I'm going to have to poop in a hole.
I don't know.
I've never dug my own latrine before, but you know what? I'm up for
She's
trying.
familiar with hole. She's just never dug one.
I've just never dug one. Usually they're there. Usually we're widening. Sorry. Okay. Continue.
Oh, I'm living.
This is going to be the most horrific.
When Christopher gets out of the frame, you know you're having a good time.
So tell us about this tractor trailer experience that you're on right now.
So I'm not on it right now, but we have been doing this crazy, so my friend Eddie is a grid life racer. He does time attack with his FK8 Civic Type R. And then my friend David, he has a GT4 Club Sport Porsche. So like factory built race car. And so they do grid life time attack together. And then for a little while, for the last 3 years, Eddie has been towing the FK8 with an open trailer with the Durango. Nice setup, good situation. And then David kind of comes in with the F350 Super Duty. We're towing the thing and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, long story short, we were like, wouldn't it be nicer if we didn't have to stay at hotels? We could all be together. We don't have to bring 2 or 3 trucks and trailers. So, we're saving on gas. So David went out and bought a 78-foot toter home and trailer. So it's a 44-foot trailer. It has room for 3 cars. It's 3-axle trailer. The toter home is a Freightliner Cascadia chassis that's been converted into an RV. It's a gooseneck trailer, so we have tons of room. And yeah, it's a 69,000 pound rig when we're in it, and we're allowed to drive it because RV exemptions are the most ridiculous laws in the world. But yeah, I've had to get used to essentially, and we're about 4 to 6 feet longer than most semi trucks, so it is tricky when you need to pull off and park somewhere and sleep or whatever, because you need a little extra room in certain lots. But so now we load it up, we drive out to Ohio and Jersey and wherever the heck we're going, and we unload the race cars. We have our home in the toter home, and we also have a full service garage and shop with air and everything in the trailer. And we have all of our friends commune. We have the Gears and Gasoline guys are good friends of ours. So Ben and Ben come and they use they use whatever they need for resources, and we just try to keep it really open to everybody. We cook for everybody. We just try to make it like a big family.
This is giving Spice World. That fucking thing, that
oh my God,
tour bus that is somehow a 72,000 square foot mansion with
it's incredible
bathrooms.
The little Gucci dress or the little Gucci dress.
Yes.
So I I don't have a race car right now, so like I felt a little left out, but at the same time, like my contribution right now is like I've become a truck driver, so like I can burn 10 hours in a day and just like.
Does it have 12 gears?
It does. It's an automatic 12-speed by like.
It's automatic.
Yeah, by 15 miles an hour, you're in 6th gear.
Oh my God.
That is like obscene. Is that a normal amount? I don't know really anything about like those.
A 12 speed is pretty standard for an 18-wheeler, yeah. But they're typically, from what I understand, is that they're typically manual, but I'm surprised to hear that it's automatic.
A lot of them are automatic now. So this one is a Detroit diesel 15.6 liter inline 6 with a big old turbo. It makes about 2,000 pound-feet of torque.
What?
And it's just
She's tugging.
She's tugging.
She's yanking.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Me on a
amazing.
Friday night. Tugging.
Yanking.
On my cock.
If we weren't clear,
Oh my God.
I like the style of being a comedian that's like, do you get it? Do you get it?
Yes,
My-
that's me. That's me. That's like it's like very dad joke adjacent is what that is. It's like, if not dad joke in line.
Yeah, so that's been a lot of the summer. I mean, we've just been traveling with that. I have to look out back and see if it's here, but it's going out to Laguna Seca in October because they're going to go race Laguna. So I'm not sure if I'm going to that yet because I got to fly out. I was originally going to drive it across the country solo, and then I realized that's going to get really depressing. So I decided not to do that.
You're going to drive that whole ass tractor trailer by yourself across country.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that not
I'm depressed
exhausting
already.
to drive? Like,
What's
does that
that?
get very tiring, or is it really not that difficult?
It's really comfortable, and like it's weird because when you first start driving it, 45 miles an hour feels like you're like gonna kill everybody. You're like, what are we doing? And then eventually you get really used to it, and I just like became one with this. Like I love this truck so much. It's like it's my friend. Like I love it a lot. And then now I can just chug along at 70, 75, and it tops. It can roll down a hill faster than 75, which you don't really want to be doing anyway, but it will cut power at 75, so you can't add any more throttle when you're at 75. So usually, my cruise speed is between 65 and 72.
You mean that kind of
Makes
sounds
sense.
That kind of sounds good.
I don't think something that size needs to be going any faster than that.
No. It's it's pretty sizable, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been an experience to be able to even operate something like that, and not just like for a 10-minute review, but to be able to really spend like dozens of hours in the thing, just churning along.
You just set the cruise control, like go take a shit in the back. You're like, all right, I'm like, I'm
That's
done.
the thing. If we swap drivers, like if we're in traffic, like stop and go traffic, like David will be like, hey, you're up. I'll make dinner. And so then I'll go and I'll piss and change into pajamas. And then I'll go and we'll hot swap, like on the GW bridge and bumper to bumper traffic.
Oh my goodness. That sounds
Does he say go piss girl?
If he doesn't,
piss girl.
that needs to be fixed immediately.
I'm the only gay in that world. Like in most of my friend groups, I'm like the token gay. So it's like refreshing when I get around other gays.
Other homosexuals.
Yeah.
But so what was your first car, Tom? Like what?
I had a 1994 Volkswagen Golf, so Mark III, 4-door, 5-speed, 2-liter. It was that periwinkle blue color. I don't know what the actual name of it is, and it had like a light gray cloth interior with some like pink and blue checks and stuff on it.
Oh my god!
My first car was a Mark III Jetta 2.05 speed.
Amazing.
It was a 97 model. Oh my god, this is like sisterhood.
And my first car was a 2-door Tahoe 99 that had the 5.7 V8 in it.
Wow. Okay, so we were serving cunt and you were serving trade.
I was serving butch, and I'm still serving butch because I still drive a Colorado Chevy. So.
And you step out of it rattling your iced coffee like a snake, and you're just like, hee hee.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then so what possessed you, not possessed, but like what inspired you? Hate that word too. Why did you buy the Civic Type R?
So the Civic Type R purchase was a little bit like, oh shit, this is good. Also my M3 was becoming deceased in my brain. I'm like, I had an E92 M3. I had like 100 and something thousand miles on it. It was tired. I was tired of it. It was just starting to like have problems that are just like old car problems and old German car problems, which you are fully aware of. And it's just like, get the fuck out of my life. This is a toxic relationship. I know you're really good in bed, but fuck you in every other moment in the world. So that was that car, and it had to go. And so when the Civic Si came out, I bought one of those. And then that was a placeholder until the Type R came out. And so
didn't most people do that?
I don't know. It was hard to get a Civic Si, honestly. Like I had to wheel and deal to get both of these cars.
Really?
Between like my dealer and then Honda corporate.
Oh my God. Yeah, she was
wheel and deal.
Civic Si.
Whose dick do I got to suck for a Type R around here?
Pretty much. Apparently no one's, but it was on the table if they wanted it. But no one took advantage of me. God damn it.
God damn it. What I have to ask, since you had the Si and now the Type R, like how do you feel about the comparison between the two? I know they're not like apples to apples, but if you're talking to somebody and they're like, I don't know if I should do an Si or a Type R, like really, like, what is the biggest attraction for you to the Type R?
I mean, the Type R is just it's as good, if not better, than my M3 was. And a lot of people can't grasp this because they're like, but it's front wheel drive. And I'm like, oh, if you don't get this, like, I don't know what to do for you. But like, it's so good. It's so sharp. It's so eager, and it's alarmingly capable, like on a back road and on a racetrack.
I kind of like that term, alarmingly capable.
Yeah, the Si was so good, but it just lacked torque, which was, or I should say it lacked power. It had enough torque to do what it needed to do. But it's that 1.5 liter is not an engine that you feel like, oh, I'm going to go wring this out. But the tactility was there. It had great steering. It had great brakes, great shifter, engaging to drive. And my God, 42 miles per gallon. I fell in love with that real quick.
Isn't that kind of nuts?
Can't beat that.
And it was so cheap. It was like $27,000, I think. So I thought it was a lot of car for the money. It was sharp. People liked it. People were eager about it. People, like, every time someone got in it, they were psyched on it. And then the Type R just cranks everything up. But, you know, the downfall of the Type R is just the fact that it's more rare, so you feel like sketchier. I would rather park Ferraris in certain places that I go to than my Honda, because like these are places where people steal Hondas, you know?
Right.
Like, whereas like, you know, there's like a Honda theft scene in some of these like Massachusetts towns. And like, if
with
I
the
had
USB cord.
Yeah, no, it's just
She's
like
gotten a mobilizer, honey.
Yeah. It's just like it's not a Kia, it's not a Hyundai. The Type R is great just because it's so sharp, it's so dialed, and it's the only downfall is that it has the same fuel tank as the Si, which is like 11 gallons, and it gets 26 to 32 miles per gallon versus like the 42. So like I fill that as much as I had to fill my M3.
Sis is slurping it up. Yeah, that's a tiny tank. Like no matter what.
It is. I mean, it's not like I'm paying more than $30 every time I go to the gas station, but still, I'm going there all the time.
Right. I mean,
meanwhile,
like
I've got a 20-gallon tank. Sorry.
My Infiniti G35 had a 20-gallon tank, but it
what?
needed it. It needed it because that thing was like a gas-guzzling pig. On the highway, it was like 25 maybe downhill with a draft, right? And like around town, I had that car for, I guess like, oh God, math is hard. 2015 to 2021, 6 years. And my running average, because I never reset the MPG like in the trip computer, was 16.9. So like
That's rough.
If you were just like, you know, traipsing around town and everything, you were getting abysmal MPG. On premium,
They were heavy, they were all-wheel drive, and they had the probably least efficient torque converter automatics ever. I swear, like 100 horsepower was lost. Just
you know what? Mine was rear-wheel drive, and it was automatic. That I will say, the steering column mounted paddle shifters that were magnesium, I was like, cunty. That was amazing. I loved that, and it did rev match, downshift rev matching. Yeah,
cool.
In 2007.
That's
like,
great.
I mean, the dash was falling apart because they couldn't make a dashboard to save their lives. But I mean, just don't look at it.
Do you find this is a little off topic, and I don't mean to like hijack your interview, but like, do you find it weird in either direction when you're dating someone who is also a car person? Like, do you find that easier? Do you find it harder? Have you ever done that? Would you rather date someone who shares that interest? Would you rather date someone who just doesn't give a fuck?
Having dated a non-car person, I am orienting my sights towards another car person at the moment. I actually have never been able to date someone who is another car gay, or they would have to be gay, right?
Technically, yeah.
It's interesting because I don't really necessarily believe that you have to have all the same interests as a partner, but I cannot tell you just like how disinterested my exes are when I like light up about like, the F22A4 engine in the 1990 Honda Accord is only different because it has like, and they're just like, shut the fuck up. Chris, your opinion?
So I just got out of a relationship with somebody that was not interested in cars at all. And I would send him like pictures of like Supras and ES 350s and stuff and be like, so what is this? Or like, what is this? And then, we even had him on the pod a couple of episodes ago and we did a whole quiz show with him. And he knew what the brands were, but he didn't know what like the some of the makes were. I mean, some of the models. And I don't know. I mean, I've never dated anybody that has had a similar interest in cars that I have. But I don't think, as long as they're not into Teslas, then like that's fine.
We draw the line.
We have boundaries, and
we have boundaries, and boundary.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It is interesting because like there's one part of it where I feel such relief when someone isn't a car enthusiast, because I'm like, oh, like I can not be at work. I can, and I can explore a new interest. Like usually if someone's into something, right? Like, and it's really cool when you meet someone who has like a totally different set of talents and interests, that as long as they're willing to bring you into it respectfully, then I think that's like a really nice way to like learn a new world and also support someone's world hopes that they do that back in return.
One would hope. Yes.
So like my now ex was into anime and drawing, and I couldn't care less about that stuff. And like maybe Attack on Titan is like all I know, right? And so he would be like, okay, well, we can watch Jujutsu Kaisen or Vampire Hunter D. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we watched like all of these Spirited Away, that studio. And
sure.
Couldn't wrap my head around it, but I kind of do agree with you in the sense that where it's like, you don't have to kind of like go home to work, so to speak. And so like he would ask me about like, he's interested in buying a car. And so he's like, asked me about like the Alfa Romeos or like a BMW or like this. And I'm like, don't buy an Alfa, buy a BMW. So depending on what BMW. So.
Now, the relieving thing is when you do date a car person, it's hard to find the right kind of car person. Because like you were saying earlier, like you had interviewed somebody who like has never opened the hood of a car before, but they're like, I love cars. And you're like, okay, we aren't the same. But at the same time, when you date someone who is a car person and they're also like handy and technically inclined, it's such a relief when their car breaks and you are not responsible for its fix, because that's the worst. Everyone sees a car. Yeah. They're like, oh, you like cars? Can you do my brake job? And you're like, I'll fucking kill myself in front of you.
Yes.
Like, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh my God, Tom. My ex had a 2013 Chevy Sonic that had not been washed in 4 or 5 years when we started dating. And I was like, you got this car brand new, and it is the most expensive thing you own, and you treat a Target like Christmas tree decoration better than you treat this like entire vehicle. Like it had a quart of oil in it because the oil filter housing gasket was leaking.
Oh my God.
The check engine light was on. He was just like no thoughts. This thing had like 70,000 miles.
This is a fun new emoji.
Right, but then they're coming to you. They're like, oh, it has a light. So you're like, oh, let me check. And then you see like the depths of the problems. And it's like someone asking you to like come over and help them paint their house. And you're like, sure. But then you go there and it's like a dilapidated cabin that's been like infested by cockroaches, mice, and termites. And you're like, why are we fucking painting?
Yes, you're like,
burn it to the ground.
You're like, priorities need to be adjusted here. You know what gives me such anxiety? The Sonic reminded me of this. People that have no fucking concept that their car has a timing belt, like if so equipped. And I cannot tell you how many people will come to me about a car question and be like, I drive this, blah, 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 anything I need to know about. And I'm like, okay, well, you just said a 2016 Honda Odyssey and it has 130,000 miles. Do you know what a timing belt is? And they're like, what? And I'm like, go get that done immediately. And like, you cannot convince people. They're just like, but it's not broken. I'm like, it gon' break. And it's going to take everything out. And they're like, but that's expensive. And I'm like,
it's
yes,
tough.
Yes. I'm like, that's
but like also
things.
It's weird because like I feel bad. Oh, man, this is where like it's just kind of like gender norms and sexuality roles and things like that. Like a lot of people have like fucked up relationships with their like mean ass dads. And like
Right.
I was lucky where like my dad taught me a bunch of shit. My dad spent time with me and did that kind of stuff and was like also yelled at me a lot because I was not handing him the correct tool or get the fuck away from me. It's taking me longer because you're here. But that's fine. Like he still like opened me to the idea of like DIYing your car shit. Like change your oil, do your brakes. You can fix these things. These are things that you do not need to go to a dealership for.
Yeah, I didn't really get into that. My dad, that's how my dad's a mechanical engineer. And so like, that's how I got into all of this. But like, I was more interested in video games and stuff growing up. And I was just more about like the glitz and the glamour of like cars and like how, and like, I eventually caught up to the mechanics of it. And like, I'm more like, I know what a timing belt is. And like, you know, I know about that stuff now and I do all my own maintenance now. But yeah, I definitely, I see that.
But it is tough to date someone who you're trying to bring up to speed on this stuff, especially when they just don't care. Like they really don't care. And then it's stressful because like I have 3 cars. I know most of like all of our like car friends have a lot of cars. It's a lot to deal with and handle already. Mm-hmm. And then when you're dealing with someone being like, my car's making a noise and you're like, oh my God, like your fucking front subframe is detached.
You're like it's Bluetooth at this point.
And they're looking at you like you're the bearer of bad news by telling them like your car's totaled. Like you have like a $10,000 bill coming your way. Like, did you think you could just not service this 97 Mercedes wagon for the rest of your life? Like, what the fuck were you thinking?
And they are so incredulous at that.
Is this coming from experience? This sounds too specific to not be an experience.
Yeah, that one actually is really, that one's really specific. That car literally split in half. That one was funny. He was nice about it. But then I had another boyfriend who...
It split in half?
Yeah, that poor car. Oh my God. I remember him like sitting, he goes, I heard a sound and he like took a picture of the front of the car and it had just been like, it looked like it was dumped, like a stance car. And I was like, can you get under there and take a picture? And the whole subframe was cracked and destroyed. And I was like, do not drive that car. And then that was the end of that. It got towed away for like Cars for Kids, and that was that. That was my recommendation. But then another one had like the Subaru, like a really nice Subaru Impreza, if you can call those nice. And it was like brand new. It had like 3,000 miles on it. It was like decent. And we were pulling out of his parking garage on our way to go to like a trivia night with his friends. And he slammed it into a corner, like into like the pillar as we were pulling around. And like, the thing is, I had been in the car with him a few times and he had always like put like the sidewall of the tire like on the curb. And I was always like, ugh. But it had a lot of sidewall. So I'm like, we're fine. But this particular evening, he was like on his phone trying to put on like Taylor Swift or something. And as we were going in a straight line, I took his phone from him and I'm like, I'll plug it in. And so as I'm plugging it in, he takes the right and slams into this, and the car's like on 2 wheels for a second. And I'm like, oh my God. And then we go out and he like leaves the garage and I was like, we should look at that. And he goes, well, no, I do that all the time. And I'm like, you do that all the time. Cause I'm like, I've definitely seen your car and it doesn't have a giant like dent or hole in it. And I'm pretty sure you don't do that all the time. Like you touch the curb with your wheel and I'm like, let me just take a quick peek. Cause I'm like, I think we may have like done this to a rear wheel. Right, and I'm like, I don't really want to get on the highway like that. Yeah. So, but I get out of the...
Oh, sorry.
No. I get out of the car and I look and I'm like, the door, the frame, like the wheel was okay, but like there was chassis damage. huge. And then he was very upset, and then upset at me because he was like, how much do you think that's going to cost? I'm like, we're looking at like minimum $5,000. And he was furious that I would say this. And I was like, I mean, maybe it's cheaper if
I'm not the one that crashed into a fucking wall that was not out of nowhere, right? Like,
okay, but can I say, and I think that this is what I tell my dad all the time too, is that the majority of these, and my dad, the way that you guys are speaking about this right now, and you're like, and how like astounded y'all are about this, is kind of how my dad is whenever I talk to my dad about how like people don't take care of their cars. That is a majority of the consumers that buy these cars, though. You know, understand that they have like a cabin air filter, or you know that they have to change the spark plugs, because when I got my Z3, you know, the spark plugs look burnt to a fucking crisp. So you know, I had to change it all out, and then the brake fluid was cocoa brown. So it's like, you know, it's just by and large like the majority of people. You know, and I think that is probably why more people are like gung-ho for electric cars, because really the only thing you have to do is change the brake fluid and like the washer fluid, and then maybe some of the components, but like, I don't know. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. It's just that like, that's just the majority of people, I think. Anyways, I want to switch it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. You went on a really long tangent, but it's totally fine. So when my hookup friend told me about your channel, I definitely like stalked your channel a little bit, and I noticed that like so you've been doing this for like 8 years, right?
Yeah,
like you've had a YouTube channel for about 8 years now. And you had started off kind of doing like more of a vlog style. And then like you also like included like your relationship stuff. And then you also did like some skits here and there. You know, what kind of led you to do more of just POV, just that kind of realm?
I got into a growth mindset because I was like, oh, I want to do this. And I had been like the vlogs and stuff are really, you're limited to like what you're able to do, right? Like if you're like, oh, I want to go and do some like fun off-roading vlog, it's like, well, yeah, but only if your friends are taking 3 or 4 trucks out to go off-roading. Like that's not like a Wednesday morning where you're like, well, I guess I'll film something. Like that's opportunity.
Well, if you're me, it is, but you know,
like a lot of things end up being opportunity based. A lot of things like, most life does not have a story. It's not a beginning, middle, and end. It is very much like, and it can be a nightmare if you're trying to write a story for every episode, and it can really suck the life out of it. Whereas like a car review, it's like, here's the car, here's how it drives, here's what I think, and that's the end. Enjoy it or don't. Like, right? So then it became a thing where it was like, I wanted to do POV because I liked the simplicity of it. I liked not having to show myself because I don't always look my best. I don't always feel confident. I don't always want anyone to see me. I don't want to have to always like have this thing of like, oh my God, like people are going to be like really mean to me because I haven't had a haircut or because I didn't shave or because whatever, like, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So the POV really allowed me to just do whatever I want, whenever I want, and with only one camera. But more importantly, I didn't have to do the bullshit like O-face for a 0 to 60 test. And the liberation of that is really good because
that makes a lot of sense.
Cannot,
from that perspective.
I cannot look at another person and go, oh, like, it's so fucking stupid.
Literally coming from my brand, but
I'm sorry. But like, I also, it's
no,
just,
I get it though. I do.
I stopped watching people because I was like, oh, and it was just like, I couldn't look at a new face. I got to a point where like, I couldn't look at a new face. I was like, look, I've already got Seb Delaney, Shmee, Matt Farah, Paul Wallace.
I love Shmee.
Like Sam and all these people. And I'm like, I cannot stare at another face. I can't get to know another person. I just show me the effing car. And so I was like, well, then I'll be the person that shows them the effing car. And then that's kind of where that came. Yeah. So, well, I mean, I was doing it with Winding Road Magazine anyway, because I was doing freelance with the POV stuff on Winding Road Magazine for quite a while. And I was like, you know what, if I just do this on my own and churn it out, I can make the same content, make more views, get more money, and then maybe it'll turn out. Because like at that point, like I said, I was focused on growth, and it was like, what are people going to consume and what can I produce? Because I'm an engineer, so I'm like focused on manufacturing. So I'm like, what can I actually realistically produce over and over and over and over again with the lowest overhead, with the lowest time, with the lowest stress, that's actually going to be enjoyable for the foreseeable future? And that's where it came down to.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that sentiment of like the easiest to churn out, because I have also started to do, because I mean, a lot of people do POV videos, right? And like, it's super simple to just like, put it on, like you can either like strap it to your head or you can put it on a hat or whatever, especially when it comes to the driving. And for someone like me who literally, I mean, I thrive more on TikTok with my content. And so like, and I have to post like 3 videos a day in order for me to even like get like the traction that I need.
Wow.
And
That's
so
crazy.
And so, but I do have these OEMs now giving me cars, and I do have dealerships paying me to do reviews.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, how the fuck? And it's just me. And so I'm like, how am I going to do this? And all of this content. And I do have like I moonlight as a videographer sometimes. And so I have all this stuff I have to do. And so like like I have a CX-30 POV drive that I'm coming out with where I still do like, because I just came out with like the Colorado video where I compared my 22 to the 3rd gen, the new 23s. So I will do the first person or the third person view of me, but then for like the CX.
I'm not. Also, please don't take my rant as me shitting on that as a thing.
No, I don't think you are.
It's what guided me at the time, where I was just like, I was like, okay, I think I need to differentiate in some way for those reasons, basically, which is what kind of kept me doing that. Plus, I had access to cars that nobody has access to, which is what I think my brand kind of ends up being hinged on, is rare classics or cars that have just objectively never been filmed in that way. I mean, maybe you'll see a lot of
filming is really interesting for those cars.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll have only seen these cars from the perspective of rolling onto the lawn at Pebble Beach or something, and to be able to take them out and actually experience what it's like to operate something like that, like an old Speedster or old Rolls Royces or Aston Martins or Ferraris or whatever it is, or like, Zagato bodied Lancias or something. Like, these are cars that objectively have never been shown. And also I think most car content since I was a kid and up till now even, it is always very glorified content, right? We only show the car in the best light. We only get the best rolling shots. We only show this and that. And yet what I want to know is, how do you start it?
Yeah.
Right.
What's it like to get it rolling in first gear? Is it synchronized first gear? Do you have to be at a complete stop? You got to double clutch it on the way down? Because these are not things that are shown. And if you start looking closely at any of the major car video producers, you miss all of it. And they don't show it to you. And I'm like, I just want to show like a very unmysterious, unglamorized version, because it's a fucking car, whether it costs 20 grand or 10 million. It's a car. You have to drive it. So how do you start it? Where's the fuel pump switch if it has one? What's the procedure? Are the brakes good? Or, we watch all these things, especially like LFA content is always like video gamey. And I'm like, let's just go for a drive and see what it's like. Is it shitty over potholes? I mean, like, what's the deal? Like, and everyone's just doing their bit, and that's fine. I think it looks really good and it's fun to watch, but it's kind of like watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and he's getting into a Ferrari 250 GT California short wheelbase. And then they show the odometer. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but the gauges they show. Back. Yeah, except that it's Smith's gauges from an E-Type Jag or something. Like, those are not Veglia gauges on a fucking 250.
Oh my God.
Interesting.
The level of detail in that reminds me, I forget what movie it was, but it was a movie that came out in like the 2010s or something. Maybe it was Lady Bird. And it's supposed to be like set in like the early 2000s. They cut to like a New York City scene, and I'm like, that is a 2016 Chevrolet Traverse. Like, you have broken any and all illusion of period.
I love when that happens.
Can I tell you the worst offender of this entire thing that you just said? Ready for this? It's gay too, so it totally fits. Dallas Buyers Club, Matthew McConaughey, sitting at his desk, has a fucking Aventador poster behind him. And it's supposed to be 1983.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did I miss that? I've seen that movie.
Bright orange Aventador. I watched this on an airplane when it was new. Like it had just gone to like Delta Video or whatever. And I stood up on this fucking plane. And my neighbor was like, what? And I'm like, I have no one to yell about this with right now. And this is like
the fucking audacity.
I was pissed.
Oh my God.
I didn't catch that. I'm like, you're telling me that in a studio, in a fucking film set with Matthew McConaughey, there's nobody in there who has enough money to know that car is not period correct? Bullshit.
You're right. Like I'm sure they have like consultants for like cars, furniture, outfits, like all these things. And it's like, who the fuck set up that room and was like, yeah, we're going to leave like a 13-year-old's Lamborghini poster on the wall.
Yeah, that's 30 years in the future.
Right.
Like insane.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's that one really pissed me off. Like I can forgive the Ferris Bueller thing, but that's like unforgivable.
Oh my God, do you have any favorite like movie cars? Speaking of, because my own example of my favorite movie car is I bought my ML320, my 99 ML, specifically because it was the exact spec that Carolyn Burnham drives in American Beauty, and I am a faggot. So like movie cars or just like the hero car. I imagine that I am a realtor woman with a bob every time I drive her. Like, do you have anything like that for you that you're just like that car in that movie, like even if it's not something that's like that interesting, just does it for you?
I think this 1957 Speedster in Harper is probably one of my favorite movie cars. Ooh. And the Bullitt Mustang in Bullitt is really good. Those are cars that like really get me going. Man, that's tricky. Yeah, those two I think really like the thing I like about the Speedster and Harper is that like most of the time when you have like a movie car, they're like beautiful, they're perfect, they're excellent. It's like, oh, what a great car. Harper, even in like the 1960s, he's driving this Speedster through Los Angeles. And it's already a piece of shit. Like it looks like David Duchovny's 964 or whatever, like that beat up in Californication. Like, and so it's funny because you're watching this and he kind of is supposed to be like this ragtag kind of detective guy. And he's driving this Speedster. And like for a second, like your brain has to click over because like, you're trying to figure out like the period correctness of all this. Right. And then you're like, in my brain, I'm like, that Speedster is worth $400,000 today. But what he's really driving is this ratty old piece of shit, which is very funny that, you know, he's driving a 10-year-old car in the movie and it's already beaten up. And it's kind of indicative of how he treats things, women, himself.
It's symbolism.
Yeah, it's really great.
God. Stranger Things. What's it's the 7 Series.
The 7 Series.
Steve drives.
Oh, yeah.
I can't fucking watch when he's driving that car because it has like a beat up turn signal marker, and it's supposed to be like brand new, like rich boy driving a 7.
It's supposed to be his dad's car. Yeah, it's supposed to be like
And so, God, I actually found the company in Atlanta that sources cars, and it was the one that sources them for Stranger Things. And like, you can register your vehicle with them, and like, I keep wanting to do it with my cars because I'm like, I would literally piss myself.
Don't do it. They beat the shit out of them. They ruin your cars.
But this specific one does not. They come and pick it up with a trailer. They're like they don't. It's like background cars only. It's not like like the main cars. But yeah, no, like I would only do that if I'd be like, you cannot fucking look at it, you can't touch it. Which of course I'd be like, get away from me. But
and then it ends up in a Transformer movie where it gets blown to smithereens and just like exploded.
I would split in half.
In recent history, I mean, you've been in Fire Island. You probably already got split in half.
I know, you should be so lucky.
Anyway,
so to wrap up, so what do you have? What do you have coming up in the future, like that is exciting that you can talk about?
Oh God, so the greatest joy of my life is that I kind of just operate in almost real time. So like I have some things planned, there's some things happening, but like at the same time, I'm just like, I go with what happens, and there's always cars, there's always something. And if I don't have something wild, I have my own cars. I've got my 911, I've got my M5, I've got my Type R. Like I can go on road trips. I can do what I need to do. My friends are bizarro world people who are always just like, you need something for whatever, go take it. And that's always nice. And yeah, I mean, so I'm doing a Bridgestone trip on the camping trip in the Cascades that I'm like excited, nervous, all the things, but like Davis will take care of me. So that's fine. Then what else? There's some stuff going on in Montana later on. I'm doing a rally with, some of my friends where we take, Team Champagne Ninjas, where we take some of his fleet. We're going from Connecticut to Stowe, Vermont to Ottawa City, Canada, the last weekend of September. And we're going to be taking the SL65 Black Series, the CLK DTM convertible. The Lexus LFA, the supercharged Caprice PPV that looks like a cop car, so that keeps everyone out of our way.
Amazing.
Probably one of the wagons, so either an RS6 wagon or he has a B5 RS4 wagon that's a safari build.
I'm moving to Massachusetts.
And I don't know if we're going to actually be taking this, but he bought a WRC Group B rally car, an actual car that it's an Audi S1 Quattro.
Wow.
And it is street legal, and there's a chance that we're taking it. It's going to be very uncomfortable if we take it, but it will be a fucking showstopper if we're rolling around Canada in that thing.
That's going to be a crew no matter what, though, with like the stuff you've already listed off. Like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So like, there's just always fun stuff happening. There's always like, I'm going to try to get out to California for like 2 to 4 weeks in January, February, maybe. Because I want to I just like to get out of the winter for a bit. We did that last year, and we had a great fleet of press cars that was just kind of rotating on our doorstep. So it looked like Forza Horizon at our Airbnb, and it was fantastic. Like, that was really fun. And it is such a weird and humbling thing when you look out of your window and see Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, and Maseratis sitting in the driveway. And all you're thinking is oh God, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. You're just I have to drive those.
This is okay.
Right.
This is okay. We're going to have a good day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Tom, for coming on today's episode. This has been a lot of fun. You're welcome back anytime.
Oh my God, please come back.
I have so many more things to say. I want to have all of the conversations with you guys. This is really fun.
Yes, we must. We absolutely will. So
and tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Tedward_IG, because some nerd is at Tedward. And then you can find me YouTube. Just type in Tedward and type in any car you think you want to see me drive. I've probably driven it. It's disgusting at this point when I look through the list, and I'm like, I don't remember half of it. People are like, oh, have you ever driven one of these? I'll say no. And then a few days later, I'm like, wait a minute. And then I'll go look it up, and I'm like, I spent a good amount of time with that car, and now I remember it. But yeah, that's a luxury when you forget. I saw somebody parked a 911R next to the Jag E-Type that I was driving that day, and I was like, I want to drive a 911R. And as I'm pulling away, I'm like, wait, I've done that. That's
you wake up at 2 a.m. in a cold sweat, I did drive that 911R.
I did drive that. That was good. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
My God.
So,
all right, cool. Well, Chris, do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it, or do you want to try
it? I want you to do, but before that, I want to say one final parting comment. Tom, I cannot communicate to you how excited it makes me feel to have this level of conversation with you, and from a successful, prominent creator who is queer in the automotive community. So
that means the world to me, because I rarely feel like I'm a resource for that. I rarely feel like I'm the person who makes someone feel not othered in the community or whatever. Cause and it feels really nice to hear when younger people or when peers say that. Cause it's just I guess just doing the thing is enough, being out here, doing it and not being afraid. I've had boyfriends on my Instagram. I've had boyfriends on the channel. I don't separate that much. I mean, I'm not going to prominently show a guy that I'm probably going to dump in 6 months, but
You're not showing whole, but you're showing heart. Oh my God, that's the episode title.
That's the t-shirt.
You're not showing whole, but you're showing heart. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I honestly, like, I think the biggest thing in the automotive community right now is that the automotive community is very polarizing in so many ways, whether it be like political or machismo or gender or just the idea that fuck BMW, Mercedes for life. Like, it's like, bro, it's a car, relax. People getting fights on my Instagram comments with they're really mean to each other. And I'm like, why? It's an Acura. Leave it. It's fine. Just don't buy it. It's fine. So I hope we can bring a little more chill and acceptance. And I want people to try things. And I don't mean they have to go and kiss boys if they don't want to, but they should drive cars that are other wheel drive. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're just try something, figure it out, because it's
expand
all
your
fun.
Horizons.
Absolutely. Yes, and I think that's something that, like, our community, whether it has to do with sexuality or not, I think we are all pretty good at encouraging people to look outside the box and try things. Outside the box is also a good title for this episode.
Outside the box.
Gross.
On that note, Christopher, would you like
Yikes.
to end this for us?
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And a special shout out to those watching on our YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on that avenue. We now have our subscription-based platform open for... We now have our donation avenue open for if you would like to contribute to our channel via Spotify. You can donate 99 cents to $4.99 or $9.99, cancel at any time. And we are also available wherever you get your podcasts, any RSS feed type podcast outlet. We are there, and we're not going anywhere. So thank you again, Tom, for being on today's episode. And that's it. Bye.
Bye.